Good evening and welcome to the FiTT Show. Financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer.
And I'm Thomas Doty.
And we are the FiTT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. Welcome everyone around the country and around the world to the number one financial information show on the planet. We're here every Thursday um, from 8 p.m. to approximately 9. And so make sure that you go out there and share and you subscribe on Facebook. Make sure you click on the like button as many times you can because it always counts as one. No matter how many times you hit it, it counts as one like. Please do that. We really appreciate that. And also click on the heart button if you may choose to, if you have love in your heart. Also, please place in the comment box any comments or opinions that you may have or any topics you'd like for us to cover. And the more things you put in the comment box, believe it or not, the more our algorithms work in our favor and they reach out and distribute it to more people. So please do those two things. Click on the like button and use the comment box. And besides, if one of the ways we use the comment box is we're in a virtual studio, and that's the way we can interact with you. So please feel free. And like we said, if you have any comments on anything we're saying, we are more than pleased and willing to actually engage in those conversations with you. Dope, how are you doing today, my brother?
Absolutely fantastic.
That is so good to hear, man. You are such a positive brother. And just remember, all rain and no sunshine makes a desert. So it's very important that I don't even know where that came from. And that doesn't.
You're just a deep brother. That's all it is.
Thank you very much. I'm just trying to say. So dope. Last week our show was who pays the most taxes, and I got a lot of comments back after the show, man, that people were shocked because the myth was so many that wealthy, really wealthy, rich people really didn't pay any taxes or their share of taxes, and what we showed that they sure do. And believe it or not, there are plenty of people on this show that are considered pretty wealthy. And
Hey, Bob, just don't forget, though, they pay their taxes. They just don't pay at the same percent of their income
of the income, right?
That poorer people do. I think that's the rub, that they don't pay the same percentage. They pay most of the taxes. That's a fallacy. It's another reason you need to be informed, so you aren't running around making comments that aren't true. Rich people don't pay taxes. No, they pay most of the taxes.
Right.
You just don't pay at the same percentage as people who make less.
When it comes to income, but when it comes to assets, that's where they hide a lot of their wealth, and that's where.
And again, don't say hide. They aren't breaking any laws.
Well,
they're taking advantage of the tax system, right. And that's what we're trying to get our listeners to do the same thing. They aren't hiding. They're smart.
Right. It's
just they're hiding because they're not hiding anything.
Well, they're hiding from the tax man.
No, they're taking advantage of the tax system. That's just common sense.
Hey, Doe, you know what I've come to the realization?
What's that?
I've called you a lot of things in my years of knowing you, over 50 years, but you are a true capitalist.
Well, I always say, if you're gonna play a sport, you gotta know the rules if you want to succeed.
I ain't mad at you. Okay. I'll take it back. I didn't know you were going to take it. You were so.
I am a capitalist, though.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you did. All right, don't. As we do at the top of the show, let's get into the stock market and let's talk a little bit about cryptocurrency. But we always start off with the stock market. Let's see what the stock. We are hoping, we got our fingers crossed, though, that you're going to give us good news to all our people who have their money in the stock market, especially the 401ks, the IRAs, and individual stocks.
Yeah, and the market continues to set records. I'm still not sure how it's doing it with inflation. Numbers came in at about 3.8%, but as you can see, the S&P is up record level. The Nasdaq is up 2%, and my holdings, the stocks I play with, Microsoft's up 8 points for the week, which is pretty good. That's 2%. It's still down for the year. Now you got to remember, in the middle of the summer last year, Microsoft was up to about 525, but in March this year, March of 2026, Microsoft was down to 358. And it was at that time I said, you guys better buy some more, because I bought some more. And it's been on a roll ever since, and it's doing well. There was a little, we've talked about this several shows, of people getting a little worried about all the money being spent on AI, and if it would indeed generate the type of revenue equal to the money that's being invested. And Microsoft, people trust it. They're sitting on a ton of cash. They've made money for a lot of years. They're diversified, and it seems like people are going back to Microsoft as an investment. Apple continues to do well. It's up 8 points for the week. NVIDIA took a little hit, which is kind of surprising because they announced earnings last week, and earnings were tremendous. But the bar has been set so high for NVIDIA that they need extraordinary earnings in order to push the number. And it had a pretty healthy run up prior to earnings. A lot of people took profit. And so it's down for the week. But again, I personally still think that's a long-term play. Google continues to inch up. It's done really, really well. It's kind of the biggest winner year to date. If you look, it's up 23% this year. It ended the year at 314. Now it's at 386. So it continues to roll. Pfizer stays flat, but I told you this one paying me is over a 6% dividend, so I'm happy with that. My one disappointment is Boston Scientific. And the reason it's down is because the CEO came out and said that their flagship product is a medical instrument called the Watchman. And it's kind of near and dear to me and my brother Bob's heart because it treats a condition that both of us have, which is atrial fibrillation. That's when your heart goes out of whack. So what the Watchman does, it's inserted in your chest, and it eliminates, I won't say eliminate, it greatly reduces the probability of you having a stroke. And you use the Watchman instead of being on blood thinners. And a lot of people have issues with blood thinners. They also can create a situation where you can have internal bleeding because it thins your blood. You got any little leaks in your stomach or something, it can create problems there. So the Watchman tested real good. It did real well, but it's just not meeting expectations as far as how many people were going to use it. So what they're going to do, they're going to go out and try to do a little more education with the doctors to get them to push a little bit more. And the market is kind of saying, well, we'll believe that when it happens. But for right now, you aren't meeting our expectations. And it dropped 14% in the last week. So thought about selling it, but I think I'm going to hold on at this point. I don't think it'll go down much further. You can see it was at 108 at the end of the year. So it's going down pretty well. But that's my one loser. And it's another point about why you diversify, why you don't put all your eggs in one basket. And you see this every week. Some stocks will be up, some stocks will be down, but overall, I make money. And that's the key thing. I have a good mix of products here, a good mix of stocks here that have continually gone up over the years and have made me a whole lot of money. And you got to be diversified. Now, my stocks are heavily AI related. I mean, if you look at Microsoft, Apple to some extent, NVIDIA, Google, they're all AI related. Pfizer is a pharmaceutical, and Boston Scientific is more of a medical devices stock. But there is some diversification there, but sometimes some are good, sometimes the others are good, but overall, I make money, and that's my goal.
And remember the motto of the FiTT Show: no risk it, no biscuit. Hey,
That's
Doug,
for
I
sure.
just want to share a little bit about a couple of stocks that I have that I've been tracking. And General Electric last week was at $300. It's up to $320 a share, and today is up $3.61 per share. NXP, which is the competitor to Nvidia and Intel and all those big boys, last week it was at $300 a share. Now it's up to $330 a share, up $1 per share a day. So those stocks are really, really, really doing well. I think GE might have something to do about that war in Iran. Not sure totally. And I always like to share with you all about a mutual fund because we believe in uh, investment vehicles, because that's one where definitely you don't put all your eggs in one basket because it's a pool of stocks. And the one that I've been tracking is Fidelity's growth fund, and it's at like $311, um, the NAV value, and that's up $3, um, today. And those are really uh, price at the end of the day. This is a growth fund. This is not an ETF. This is not ETF. I was going to say it was ETF, but no, it's not. It's just a regular managed mutual fund. Gold is down $8 a day, though. It is down, but it's still at $4,524 per ounce. Silver is up just 15%. And I told you I'm curious about silver because all these data centers going up with that silver, and it's at $76 an ounce. The Treasury bond dope, the 30-year Treasury bond dope, believe it or not, for the 6 month, that's how they price. It's at 4.97% dope, and that's still another alternative investment because high yields. That's good because high yields are paying anywhere between high 3 and 4%. So 30-year bond is doing pretty well. Um, I remember though we had gotten in at one time where it was paying 9%. So just give you some investment vehicles. Once again, um, our sharing this stock information is just for information purposes only. We're not telling you what to do. We're not telling you to invest in them because we're not qualified investment advisors. We are just financial educators providing information to you. It's upon you to seek, personal advice because, like we say, everybody's investment portfolio is very unique to them. So let's get into the cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is taking a beating. It's taking about a 5% hit. Uh,
Ouch.
yeah, it's down to 2.5 trillion. It's down 129 billion. It's down 5%. All across the board, a lot of the cryptocurrencies are around, that 5% loss area. The Bitcoin last week was at $77,709. That's down. Today is at 73,486. That is a $4,223 loss, not loss, decrease, which is 5%. The smart contract was usually staying. Bitcoin is still in the number one position, though, over all of the cryptocurrencies out there. I think it's about over 9,000 active and about 40,000 cryptocurrency total, but most of them are inactive. But the stable coins, Tether and USDC, they've been holding at 99 cents. And remember, those are pegged to the dollar, but they haven't been moving. I'm pretty interested in why that hasn't been moving. I don't know what's going on with the dollar because those are pegged to the dollar. And I would think even the dollar is just holding and it's not losing, but not sure. I haven't looked into it to see what was the real effect on that. And, and then Binance and Ripple are still in the fourth and fifth position. So if you have these, like we say, it's not about time in the market, it's time in the market. And don't only use money that you can afford to invest in these speculative um, particular investments.
Hey, Bob, full disclosure, we often talk about, in diversifying and looking into stocks and looking at gold. I didn't know, just found this out, didn't know till today, that the long-term gain tax rate on collectibles is actually 28%. So
Oh,
it doesn't get the same uh, or same positive treatment that you get on securities. Did not know that. And
when you say
so
collectibles, like what?
I think silver, gold, things that you sell like that we
Well, not silver and gold because those are pegged to the ounce, right?
no, I'm saying the capital gain has nothing to do with how it's paid. I'm saying how the tax rate on it.
Oh, right. Oh,
You
got
don't get the favorable tax rate of
you.
20%. If you're high income, it's 20%, right? It's either zero,
Oh,
zero,
got you,
two.
got you, got
With
you.
the long-term tax rate on collectibles is 28%.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so and you got it. If you're paying that 20%, you're probably paying that 3.1% surtax on securities, and so you're also subject to that too. So just so you know, I didn't. We talk about investing in collectibles. I didn't want you to be surprised when you say, "Hey, why am I paying a higher tax rate?" Well, you do on collectibles. I never knew that. Just happened to be doing a little research and came up with that.
That's interesting because I didn't realize that either, though.
Yeah, so when you sell that silver, you're going to pay Sam.
Yeah, Uncle Sam always get his man and woman. And don't forget about Aunt State.
About what?
Aunt State. Remember state
Oh
taxes?
yeah. That's one a lot of people forget.
I got Aunt Merlin.
Yeah, I
No,
got Uncle South Carolina.
like a bug. Yeah, yeah. So, though, let's get into today's topic. Like I said last week, with who pays the most taxes, now we know. But today's topic is what it takes to be financially secure. That's a key term, though. A lot of people throw out financially secure. Isn't that what most people want?
Yeah, people say they want it, but they don't know what gets them there. What makes you feel financially secure? And with the advent of 401ks and company matching and this crazy stock market, there's a whole lot of people who are quote unquote millionaires, and they still are not comfortable. So it used to be that if you were considered a millionaire, that was a clear sign that you were successful, you were probably carefree, didn't worry about money. But now, it's a milestone that a lot of people get to that seven-figure number, but that doesn't translate into feeling wealthy. And so a lot of research shows that many millionaires still worry about retirement, they worry about paying healthcare costs, and they worry about how long their money gonna last. And so the whole definition of wealth has shifted upward. And when you look at what inflation does, people are living so much longer now, and rising housing costs that totally reshape financial expectations.
Yeah, that's true talk though. And for those navigating these similar concerns, the disconnect between net worth and financial confidence raises an important question, and that is, what actually, what does it actually take to feel financially secure?
Okay, well, that's what we're going to talk about. Hopefully, when we're done with this, you'll have a feel for what it will take you to have that comfort, or what number that you can strive for to get you there. And kind of, this is, what do you call it? Spoiler alert. There is no number. It's a complex set of things that it's going to make you feel that security. But it used to be, again, I mentioned before, millionaire status. You were over the hump, but that's kind of outdated now. Nobody who has $1 million feels that way, mostly because of inflation. And so And there's so many millionaires, 401ks and company savings plans has made so many people millionaires who have just put their money away, let it ride, and watched it grow, especially if they were heavily invested in securities. And most people might say they feel financially comfortable, and that's the best that they'll say, but they
Right.
won't say they feel financially secure. And several factors are driving this shift. The main thing is inflation, right? That has eroded purchasing power. So $1 million doesn't stretch as far as it once did, especially the way everything's going up and prices have been elevated for a while. And the other thing is housing costs have surged. In many regions, a large portion of people's net worth is tied up in home equity. And that always creates the problem. Yeah, if you sell that and you want to stay where you are, you got to buy something else. So that money being, your house value doubling or whatever it is, unless you plan to move to a place with a lower housing cost, it really does you no good, unless of course you borrow against it, which we never recommend because that's a loan. And the other thing that's making that $1 million seem less is lifespan. You know, you might have to fund 30 years after you retire of living expenses, and there's heavy pressure on healthcare costs once you retire. So all those things tend to make that $1 million figure seem not so great after all.
And there's no doubt, though, that the definition, amongst Americans for the wealth have shifted definitely upward, and it now goes far beyond simply just $1 million. According to the Charles Schwab survey, Americans say it takes an average net worth of approximately $2.3 million to be considered wealthy today. Wow, that's always a figure that kind of like, woo, stands out at me, because a lot of people were just happy to, and I know people on this show that's in the $1 million range for their 401k plan, but that's a big jump from $1 million. Now that figure has stayed elevated for recent years, and it reflects, a common trend right now. The financial bar for feeling wealthy continue to rise alongside living costs and the economic uncertainty. Survey respondents also said it takes roughly $839,000 in net worth to feel financially comfortable, highlighting the wide gap between comfort and perceived wealth. Now, perceptions also vary significantly by generations and actually personal circumstances. Take the older Americans. They tend to set higher wealth thresholds than the younger people do, and this reflects about their retirement and healthcare costs. Now, other respondents to the survey say rising prices like taxes and interest rates have made wealth feel harder to achieve than way in the past. Now, definitions of wealth increasingly include non-financial factors such as health, relationships, life experiences, and free time. And it's not just based on net worth. Now, together, these findings suggest that wealth today is much more about stability and the quality of your life. A lot of people talk about, they're not trying to get stuff, they want to have experiences. Now, as expectations rise, even high net worth households might feel they're still working harder rather than living in true financial security.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Let's talk to where net worth versus financial security, and which one matters most. Okay. And that one of the biggest reasons millionaires might not feel wealthy is that net worth alone doesn't always equal financial security. For example, a household could have $1 million net worth, but still feel financially stressed if most of their assets aren't liquid. They could have money in a retirement account, and you can't touch that without penalties. They might have real estate that generates very little cash flow unless you have rental property, or they might have business equity, and that fluctuates with market conditions. On the flip side, you're going to feel a lot more secure if you have reliable income streams, and ideally more than one. Okay, so you have several income streams that are reliable. You're going to have adequate emergency savings. So if something crazy happens, you got money set aside to take care of that. The other thing, you're going to have low debt or manageable debt. And that's a key one, because if you're paying high interest costs, then basically you're not getting ahead. You're falling behind every month. And finally, you have a clear projection of what your retirement situation is going to be. Now, obviously, no one knows how long they're going to live, but if you have pretty much figured out how much you're going to need in retirement, and you've made plans to generate X amount of money through either pensions or through your 401k or IRAs, if you have those things going for you, reliable income streams, emergency funds set aside, little debt, clear idea where you're going to retirement, that might make you feel a little more secure.
Though I want to talk about lifestyle inflation and the real wealthy millionaire mindset. This is another reason many millionaires don't feel wealthy is lifestyle inflation. And that's the tendency for spending to rise alongside income and net worth. As earnings grow, households might upgrade, like homes, and then certain neighborhoods, the prices go up in the homes. Vacations and travel increases. Private education and extracurricular activities, like the payments for your kids' volleyball and softball and trips that they take, for AAU, dining and entertainment. Now, these upgrades can quietly increase fixed expenses and create ongoing financial pressure. Even higher earners can feel stressed if their spending commitments grow just as quickly as their assets. Now, psychologically, the factors also play a role, no question. Behaviorally, you can find research that shows that people often compare themselves with their peers, keeping up. And normally they actually sort of compare themselves with their higher incomes or net worth, which can diminish feelings of feeling satisfaction, even when they're objectively doing well off and pretty good financially, but sometimes the pressure, peer pressure, should I say, can affect them.
And again, what helps people feel secure? And a lot of people look at net worth. That's just one milestone. And so true financial confidence tends to come from stability and flexibility rather than a specific number. And if you think about retirement income, if you're banking on Social Security, you're probably going to be disappointed. I think I told you a couple of weeks ago when Social Security was first established, the life expectancy was 58 years old. And I believe you couldn't get money until you were 65. Mm-hmm. And so now the life expectancy is 78 years old, and people can start taking money out at 62. So you don't have to be a math major to know that the math ain't mathing. There's a lot less people paying into Social Security than previous years, with the big baby boomers now all at retirement age and living way longer than they expected. So if you're banking on just getting Social Security, you're probably going to be in trouble in retirement, because sometime between 2031 and 2033, something's going to have to change in order for them to keep paying what they're paying now. Another thing that's going to make you feel comfortable, I mentioned earlier, was having emergency reserves. 3 to 6 months of expenses put away, accessible in case something happens. The unexpected things, the job layoffs, the illnesses, in any sort of emergency, those kind of things are going to be covered if you have adequate emergency funds. Another thing that's often overlooked is adequate insurance coverage, whether that's health, disability, home insurance, life insurance. If those things aren't protected, it opens you up to huge emergencies. I mean, if any of those are out of whack and you have an emergency in your home, in your health, or anything of that sort, you can get put in a hole that you probably may not get up out of for the rest of your life. That was one thing I learned when I was in my 30s, that I was more likely to be disabled than I was to die. And so that kind of shook me. So I made sure I had extra, I got a bunch of disability insurance at work, and I made sure I got the max that you could have. And also with insurance, when I had people depending on me, kids, family, and the whole bit, I made sure that I had enough money put aside in case something did happen to me. But the other thing, and I mentioned this before, is financial flexibility. And that's when you don't have to work as hard. If you decide you want to change careers and do something that you like, you have the ability to do that. You can handle that transition without worrying about where your money's coming from. And those kind of things can reduce the financial stress. And the other thing, we've told you this, I think every other show we talk about this. You have to have clear priorities and goals. And so people who define what money is meant to support, whether that's travel, family, early retirement, they feel more satisfied that they know where they're going, they know what they have, than some arbitrary targets that really aren't anything you can put your hands on. When you have goals, know where you're going, and you're striving to those. And again, you set lofty goals, and if you don't reach them, you're still probably going to be okay if you're doing the things that we talk about in this show. Not getting wrapped up in debt, acquiring appreciating assets as opposed to assets that depreciate, living below your means. Those are the ways you get to reach your goals and make sure you can hit your priorities.
I want to talk a minute about the realistic wealth benchmarks. And they have a chart that they've done it by age. Now, comparing your finances with national benchmarks can provide, a useful perspective. But remember, as long as those numbers are viewed as guideposts rather than strict targets. We always talk about benchmarks, though, and averages and stuff like that. But they are good guideposts. Remember that. And just remember that. And net worth varies wildly by age, income, and location. I want to share a chart with everybody. Bear with me. Hope.
You got it working today, buddy?
Got it working today, dope. Got it working today. You see that chart, dope?
Yep.
So this is what they call a realistic benchmark, wealth benchmarks by age. They say under 35, the median net worth is roughly 39,000, though high earning households may hold several $100,000. Now, ages 35 to 44, the median net worth rises to about 135,000, with top households surpassing 1 million. By age 45 to 54, the median net worth approaches $247,000, while once again, the top earners often exceed 1 million. And this is just talking about the benchmarks. I didn't mean to change it like that. This is just talking about the benchmarks by age, which is considered a good place to be financially secure. Now, age 55 to 64, the median net worth climbs to around 364,000 as retirement savings peak. 65 and older, check that out though. The median net worth often ranges from 335,000 to 410,000, though the top quartile household holds significantly more. So these are just benchmarks, and rather than focusing solely on net worth, financial experts typically recommend tracking retirement readiness using savings and income benchmarks, right? This often means contributing consistently to tax advantage retirement accounts such as your 401ks and IRAs, and aiming to save the equivalent of your annual salary by age 30, three times by 40, and six to eight times by your age when you hit early to the 60s. Now, this is just benchmarks. Now, to ensure that you're not creating unnecessary pressure that makes financial success feel out of reach, these are the recommended questions they ask you to ask yourself, as you try to keep track of your progress. One of the questions, and this is progress to financial security. Am I consistently saving and investing each year? Number two, is my net worth trending upward over time? Three, do I have a clear plan for retirement income and major expenses? And the last one is, am I reducing high interest debt and building liquidity? These are the questions you should ask yourself, as you work towards being financially secure.
Okay, so you can build financial confidence. You don't have to be a millionaire. I mentioned some of our listeners are. I'm sure some are not. And you can get that feeling. It doesn't require being a millionaire. And so you can build confidence just through following the steps that we always talk about. And that's mainly you improve your stability and have clarity on where you're going. And so make sure you got emergency fund. Make sure you're putting some money away. That's going to reduce your stress if you know you can handle emergencies. If your car breaks, if your water heater goes, you got money put aside to do that. Whenever possible, increase your retirement contributions. You can't save too much for retirement. Trust me. When you get a raise, take a percent of that, put it in your retirement. Take a couple of percent of that, put it in retirement, as opposed to, as Bob mentioned, that lifestyle creep instead of spending more because you have more. You have to diversify, your income sources. Look for that side job or that ways to make extra money. Maybe you're selling things that you've accumulated over the years that you no longer use. Maybe you have a skill that you can sell that somebody else is willing to pay for. But try to diversify your income sources and make sure you got money coming in from as many different streams as possible. And this is one of those things that nobody likes to do, but it's very important to review your insurance and your risk management situation. We talked about how housing prices are going up. Make sure your insurance is keeping up with the value of your house. I think I mentioned a while back that you have to have 80% of your house value covered in order for the insurance to cover the full value of your house. For example, if your house is worth you bought it at 300,000 and now it's worth 500,000 and you still have it insured for the 300,000, then you could run into some difficulties if the house was to burn down, because your insurance would say, well, you only had it insured for 300. That's what we're going to cover. So it's not one of those things people like to do, but you need to review your insurance and make sure you are comparison shopping when you do that. And most importantly, have a plan, a long-term financial plan that's aligned with your personal goals. Think about what you want to do with your money, what you want to do with your life, what you'd like to do while you're here on earth, what it's going to take financially to do that. Come up with a plan, write it out, and then put it in practice and work towards that.
Another thing to consider focusing on, and me and Doe always talk about this, is working with a financial advisor that can help clarify your priorities and build a roadmap for long-term security. It's, sometimes we try to go it alone. And I know in the Black community, a lot of times we not seek the advice of professionals. And that's one thing that is so helpful, because like I said, it can help you, set your goals and clarify some of the priorities in those goals. Because, the millionaire status might still represent a significant financial milestone, but it no longer guarantees peace of mind. Rising costs, longer lifespans, and shifting expectations has changed what it means to feel wealthy. Now, ultimately, financial security is less about hitting a specific number, and it's more about having stability in your life, flexibility, and confidence in your ability to support the life you want. For many Americans, I don't care millionaires or not, these factors matter far more than the size of your portfolio. So, please consider, these things that me and Dope talking about focusing on. There's a lot of information there, as we always give, but I hope this was useful about being financially secured. That's one. Kitty said, can your credit card be considered as your emergency fund? Mm. Well,
Well, only if you have the funds to pay it. If you if you have it, that's the key thing. And and Kitty, I kind of do that. I have a lot of my money invested. I have very little money sitting idly in a checking account. And so I realizing if I have a $5,000 to $10,000 emergency, I do have stocks I can sell or money I can access in order to cover that. So it can, but you don't want to be paying 21% because you have to put a new transmission in your car. That's the thing, because they'll take that $2,400 cost to fix your car, and that'll make it $3,500 when you start tacking on the interest.
good question, Kitty. And I would say, and I know how I use it though, but I would say no, not to use it as emergency fund. I think it use it in case of emergencies, but not as an emergency fund. And I guess that could be interchangeable, like you say, though. If you have a certain amount of savings, but you have a big, like say the furnace goes and it's about $3,000 to $5,000, and you only got $2,500 in your emergency fund, then yes, but you're going to have to be able to pay it off. That's the only difference. An emergency fund is your credit card, and as long as if you do, and so this is my statement on that though, if you do use your credit card as your emergency fund, make sure you pay it off as soon and as quickly as you can.
Hey Bob, and these credit card these merchants are starting to kill me, man. They starting to charge surcharges for using credit cards. And my main credit card that I use for most things, they just cut my reward rate from 3% to 2%.
Mm.
That's considerable. I think I got like 3,400 back last year. So that's going to drop that number down to the 2,300 range, which I'm like, ouch, it's killing me. And so many places are charging surcharge that I will probably use my credit card less. So that's going to eat into that number even more. And unfortunately, like you guys know, I use about 4 or 5 different credit cards. I use my Costco card at Costco for gas. I use my Amazon card for Amazon and Whole Foods, which I still get 5% on those. And then I use my hotel card, my Hilton card at Hilton, and my American Airlines card at American. But for everything else, I use that Fidelity card, which used to pay me 3%. Now it's dropped to 2%. Like even my property taxes, I used to pay my credit card with my property taxes because I'd get 3% back, and I think they were charging a 2% surcharge. So I still made 1% on that deal. And I think my property taxes were like $4,500 or something like that. So I still made $45 for using my credit card. But now, of course, I won't. So they're starting to get to me, Bob. I'm starting to lose it, man. They're taking my money away.
Otis Steen said, I use my credit card for everything and pay it off at the end of the month. That's the
There
way
you
to go. And Modestine, I hope if you're doing that, that you're using the credit card that has cash rewards, because you do have a credit card. You could be the same credit card. I mean, it could be the same company, but it could be not giving you cash rewards. And if you are doing that, you might as well get a cash reward credit card from the same credit card issuer and bank on getting the reward points, right?
Yeah, and we got to do a show on that, Bob, because there's not one card that meets all your situations. So many cards, they give you increased rewards for certain purchases, whether it's gas stations or supermarkets or restaurants. So I'm sure everybody's not an accountant like myself and keep track of those things and take it as a personal challenge to maximize my rewards. But you should at least take a look at it and make sure you're getting the most that you can get out of your credit cards. And we talked about this before. If you're worried about your credit rating, and a lot of people pay their credit card right before the due date, and that's fine. You should, but just be cognizant of the fact that the number they report to the credit bureaus is the amount that's due.
The closing date.
Your statement balance is what gets reported to the credit bureau. So if you're worried about your credit score, make sure you pay your bill before the statement balance, because most time, for most situations, the due date is after the statement balance date. That would make sense. But if you're worried about your credit score and you want to get your credit score up, make sure you're paying your credit card bill before the statement balance, and that lower number will get reported to the credit bureaus.
And it's also another term they call a statement balance, the closing date. But more likely, you probably see the statement balance.
Well, no, the closing date creates the statement balance.
Right.
Whatever day you close, that's whatever you owe at that point. That's the statement
That's the
balance.
statement date. Yeah, but yeah, I just want to make that correlation. Kitty said, "What if your emergency fund is a CD that has just been renewed for 12 months? What is the loss if you have to use the CD in an emergency?"
Well, couple things there. When you shop for CDs, you can get one that you can pull out without a penalty, and some of them have penalties. So if you're using it as your emergency fund, you might want to make sure you got a CD that is callable. Okay, you might get a little less interest rate on that, but that's still better than paying a huge penalty. So when you're doing your shopping for your CD, if you're going to use it as your emergency money, try to make sure it's callable without a penalty. And if not, make sure the penalty is minimized if you think you might have to use that money.
And just remember, the penalty is just the interest. You
Correct.
never lose your principal. The penalty is just the interest. So in your case, Kitty, if you just renewed a 12-month CD, the interest that you already gained on that is now considered the principal. So you won't lose that. But if let's say you needed it today, then you're only going to lose the interest that accumulated up to today and going forward on that 12 months that had just been renewed. So, and most CDs, I must say, from the FDIC I follow, do have penalties, if you call them early. But like don't say, there are many that do not charge you a penalty. Just remember, you only lose the interest rate for that term of that CD that you have, whether it's 6 months, 12 months, or they do have 18-month and 2-year CDs. Good question. Very great question. So, Dope, let's go to the takeaways from today's show. And these are important, y'all. I hope y'all making notes of these because everybody wants to be financially secured.
Yeah, I'll start it off by income is only part of the equation. you could be making a whole lot of money, but also have a whole lot of debt. So, don't shoot for an income. Obviously, you want to make as much as you can, but it's more important to have multiple streams. That's as important as a big income number.
And net worth is key. Building your net worth is key. Net worth is, the your assets minus your liabilities give you a net worth. So just because you make a big income, but if you're a person that is spending a lot and you're not increasing your net worth, you really not are financially secured. So the name of the game, net worth is so key. The two together work like magic.
Watch that lifestyle creep. And that's really a state of mind. Just because you make more, you don't have to spend more. You don't have to worry about what other people are doing. Have your own plans, your own goals, and don't worry about spending more because you make more.
And this last one is key. It's define what it means to you. Because everybody, like we say, is different. Everybody have different, behavior, different mindset. And we're going to talk about, before we get out of here, though, what does define what financial security means to you?
To me, it means being able to help my kids, being able to help my grandkids. I'm at the point now where I've had the stuff and the things, and the older you get, the less they mean to you. What really matters is being healthy. And that means I can pay to go to a premium gym. I can pay for personal trainers. I can pay to make sure I have the things I need from a health perspective, from a food perspective. And if my kids need help, I can help them. If my grandkids need something, I can help them. That's what it means to me. That's what financial security means to me.
So financial security means to me is being able to sleep at night comfortably. And it also means with not having to worry about, any financial situation, any expenses, any costs. And it also means being able to spend my money freely with not worrying about if I'm going to be able to afford it. My other definition for me, though, is being able to do what I want, when I want, how I want, with whoever I want.
And where?
Oh, I left the last one. And where? No doubt about it, though. So we're going to open up the lines. If anybody want to share with us in the comment box, remember this helps us out. What does it mean to you to be financially secure? And you can use one word, or you can use a sentence. Garnett jumped out the box, being able to live comfortably for myself and my grandchildren. All right, Garnett, we really appreciate that. Anybody else? Give me one word if you don't want a sentence. What does financial security mean to you? Just put it in the box. Um, okay. Oh, until somebody else puts something else out there. Kitty asked, do people buy savings bonds like they used to back in the day?
I think people do, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think, do they issue savings bonds anymore? I thought they stopped. I really thought they did. We need to look that up, but I really thought they stopped.
I'll do that right now. I'm pretty sure they do, Bob. I think you can still.
Yeah, the physical savings bond, man. I don't think.
No, I think they might be digital now.
Yes, that's the thing. All right, Modestine. Oh, my sister Linda said, sleep. I hear you, Linda. Being able to sleep comfortably. Modestine said, never need for anything. Wow. Yes. That's good. Thank you for sharing that, you all.
Yeah, you can still buy savings bonds.
Okay.
Minimum purchase 25. You can buy them up to $10,000. You
But
could
the
have
question,
double E bonds, fixed interest rate guaranteed to double in 20 years. So what does that mean? That's an interest rate of what? Double in 20 years. So 10 years, about 3%. A little over 3%.
mhm,
Yeah, somewhere maybe somewhere around 3%. But it will double in 20 years if you hold it that long. And the Series I, that's the ones Bob and I always talk about. Those are inflation bonds that the interest rates adjusted. Was it every 6 months?
right,
Those are tips. But you used to get them through the mail. Now you have to buy them directly from Treasury Direct.
right. That's the change, right. All
Yeah.
right, Joanne Skinner said, being able to live comfortably. Hey, Rodney says, not to worry about our financial future. Thanks for sharing, you all.
Congratulations, Rodney said he went to his grandchild's graduation from LSU. That's always an accomplishment.
That's great. But you can no longer cast them. Oh, yeah, Modestine. Yeah, she just put what you said, but you can no longer cash them in at a bank. I thought that's where you can cash them in. You sure about that,
They
Modestine?
got to go through the Treasury, Bob.
That's what you just said, right? That's your point. You could go to the bank. Thanks, Modestine. Yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you once again for being on, and we cannot end this broadcast without thanking, doing the roll call, Modestine, Joanne, Rodney, Madison with the noteexperience.com. Make sure you go out there for alternative investment opportunities. Kitty, the Toastmaster General Caney, my sister Gloria, my sister Nolia, and my lovely sister Linda. I love it when all three of y'all on. It's like the trifecta. It's like the Trinity, the God, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus. Holy sanctified. Modestine, I said Modestine, and who did I leave out? I think I'm leaving. Did I say Joanne? And yep, Garnett. Garnett, can't leave out Garnett. Thank you so much, everyone, for being on this wonderful show. Dope. This is our, what did I say? 241 shows. That's commendable, my sir. I must say, I couldn't have done it with a better guy. Thank you, Dope. So,
Same here, brother.
Thank you, Dope. You're so kind. Dope, the quote of the week by Robert Purnell Kinson. The razor is sharp, but can't cut a tree. The axe is strong, but can't cut hair. Everyone is important according to his or her own unique purpose. So, never look down on someone unless you are admiring their shoes.
Very good. That was a good one.
I'm glad it meets your approval. Thank you, everyone, for being on. We see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat place. And remember, take heed and stay on top of your finances. The FiTT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. See you next week.